Hi everyone, and welcome back to the Always Active podcast, the show that empowers you to lead an active lifestyle. I'm your host, Katie, and in this episode, I'll be sharing the pros and cons of following a workout program versus working out intuitively. I'll also be sharing my experience completing Natacha Oceane's cut and build training programs, as well as my tips for following a workout program. Over the past year, I completed these two programs, and these are actually the first programs that I've ever completed from start to finish. So I learned a lot through this experience, and it helped me to develop a new approach to working out, which involves combining intuitive workouts as well as completing a structured training program. And this has helped me to stay consistent and achieve results over the past year. So I'm really excited to take a deep dive into what my training has looked like and share all that I've learned. And without further ado, let's get psyched to move. In today's Psych Spotlight, I wanted to highlight a psychological phenomenon which is called reactance. The reason this has been on my mind is because I actually learned about this through Natacha Oceane's guide in one of her programs. And she defines reactance as our subconscious drive to challenge rules that restrict our freedom. Now, I took a little bit of a deeper dive into this topic and checked out some of the literature on reactance, and I learned that reactance stems from something called reactance theory, which states that we have a need for autonomy or freedom. So when we experience some sort of restriction or a threat to our freedom, then we may take actions to try to regain control of this freedom. So for an example, you can think of how a lot of times children will do the opposite of what they're told to do because they're behaving in a way to regain control. One of the examples that Natacha gave in her guide was in the context of nutrition, and she was stating that we shouldn't restrict any type of food, put anything off limits, or eliminate a food group from your diet unless you have a specific health-related reason for restricting it, such as having an allergy. And a quote from her guide is, "The more rules you create, the greater probability you'll feel urges and cravings, which will make the process feel harder than it needs to be." So I found this example interesting in the context of nutrition, but thinking about ways that we can reduce feelings of reactance and increase our exercise behaviors, some strategies would be to increase our autonomy. So if we feel empowered to make our own choices, rather than being told what to do when we're exercising, this can help us to maintain greater exercise behaviors. And another thing we can do is increase choice and variety. This is something I've mentioned before in past episodes, but this gives us the freedom to select our preferred activities when it comes to exercise and prevent boredom. So that's a little bit of a background on what reactance is, and I would encourage you to think about how you might be imposing rules on your healthy behaviors and how that might be actually having an opposite effect of what you would actually like to do. And consider how maybe taking away some of these rules and providing yourself with more autonomy and freedom might help you to actually stick to your behaviors long term. This week's movement mindset is to find a fitness life balance. So I went on a 1-week vacation recently to Punta Cana, and it was a really wonderful trip, but during this time, I barely worked out at the gym for over 2 weeks in the time leading up to the trip, during the trip, and then following my vacation when I got back home. During these 2 weeks, I literally just did one gym workout at the resort. It's important to understand that taking time off from your workout routine is totally fine and it's normal. Sometimes you need to put your workouts and the gym on the back burner, and this is just part of life. Now, aside from gym workouts, I did stay quite active on vacation, but instead of working out at the gym, I prioritized different forms of exercise, like going to the yoga class that was offered at the resort, going for walks on the beach, and also doing aqua aerobics and aqua spin, which were really fun. And I enjoyed all my workouts on vacation, and it actually positively contributed to my overall experience of the trip. Now that I'm back from my vacation, I'm resuming my normal gym habits, and this experience is all part of a healthy, balanced lifestyle, which includes both fitness, but also rest and other life priorities. So moving on to the main topic of today's episode, I wanted to start off by comparing structured versus intuitive workouts so that we can understand what this means and some of the pros and cons of each approach to working out. Starting off with structured workouts, I would define this as following some kind of preset program where you already have pre-outlined the sets and reps that you should be doing for each exercise. And a structured program would normally have a specific goal. Now, some of the pros of this approach are that it's easy to follow because it's providing you with structure and you have less thinking involved. You kind of just show up and follow the pre-established plan. Structured workouts also provide clear goals, it's easy to track your progress, and they have progressive overload built in, which means that you'll likely be getting better results for your particular goal, and the improvements in strength or endurance that you're trying to achieve will be more obvious. Having a structured program also helps to hold you accountable to completing certain exercises or workouts, and it helps you with your consistency. Now, some of the drawbacks of this approach is that it's a little bit more rigid. It's less flexible, and it may actually lead you to experiencing reactance, like I had mentioned at the beginning during this week's Psych spotlight. Because if you're placing these rules on the types of workouts that you have to do, you may end up just deciding not to do them at all because it feels a little bit too overwhelming or too rigid. There's also the potential for burnout or boredom, and this is absolutely something that I've experienced in the past when trying to complete workout programs. But over time, I've learned some strategies which have helped me to overcome some of the drawbacks of following a structured program, and I'll dive deeper into this a little bit later. In contrast to a structured workout program, intuitive workouts would be more working out based on your preferences and your instincts and listening to your body and how you feel on a given day than doing a workout that aligns with that. In a way, the pros and cons of intuitive workouts are kind of the opposite of the pros and cons of structured training, with the pros being that intuitive workouts are flexible and customizable, which gives you more freedom and allows you to explore different exercises that you might be interested in. And you're basing your workouts off of how you're feeling physically, mentally, your preferences, how sore you might be that day, and your energy levels. And some of the drawbacks of this approach are that intuitive workouts are a little bit harder to follow because you don't have that pre-established structure. It's also harder to clarify your goals, track your progress, and incorporate progressive overload when you're taking this intuitive approach. There's a lack of accountability, which could lead to inconsistency, and it may also be difficult to work out intuitively if you don't already have a basic knowledge of programming. So my suggestion might actually be to start off with following a structured workout plan, and then once you have a better understanding of workout programming, then you can transition to intuitive workouts with time. But ultimately, when thinking about which style you should pick, really just choose the one that you like better, because you will stick with what you like. If you have a specific goal, consider following a program. And if you just want to exercise for health and enjoyment, then you don't really need a program and you can work out more intuitively. Personally, in the past, I've started and failed many different programs. And I actually wanted to create some content about why I stopped following workout programs, which is kind of funny to look back on now, considering that I am such a fan of programs. But at the time, programs really just didn't work well for me because I didn't like the rigidity and it caused me to burn out time and time again. Now, on the other hand, I've also felt a lack of motivation at times working out intuitively because I didn't have any guidance or I didn't feel like I had a specific goal that I was working towards. So now I've established an approach which kind of feels like a sweet spot where I follow a program, but I'm also working out intuitively. This means that I do about 3 to 4 gym workouts per week following a program. And then on the other days, I do things like yoga, going for walks, playing golf, playing soccer, or just resting. And in this way, I'm able to experience the benefits and avoid the drawbacks of both structured programs and intuitive workouts. And overall, it's been a more positive experience for me. This is what has been working for me personally over the past year. And I'll share more about this as I dive into my experience of completing the programs Cut and Build by Natacha Oceane. So a little bit of a background on these two programs. Some of the things that Cut and Build had in common were that they were both 12-week-long programs. Each individual workout took about an hour to complete, not including warm-up and cool-down. The difficulty level of these programs, I would say, would be intermediate to advanced, but if you are a beginner, it wouldn't be off limits. I actually completed many of the cut workouts with one of my friends who at the time had less than a year of gym experience, and she was totally able to keep up with the workouts. And just a quote from Natasha in one of her guides, she said, "My goal is to constantly be a beginner in some area," which I love that idea because I kind of feel the same way. And as I'll talk about a little bit more, I was definitely a beginner when trying some of these programs because there were brand new movements that I had never done before included in the programs. Something else to note is that there were modifications provided. So there were different versions of each exercise with varying difficulty levels. And Natasha recommended that you should tailor the program to your specific abilities when completing the program. In terms of the equipment required, you should be able to complete both of these programs in a standard commercial gym, and alternatives are provided in case your gym doesn't have a specific piece of equipment, for example, slam balls or BOSU balls or a TRX. The cost of the program listed on the website is £41.99, which is about $72 Canadian or $53 US. And when you purchase the program, you get access to the Athlete app, which is where the program is housed, and you can track your weights and reps and leave notes for yourself in this app. It also includes the videos and descriptions for each exercise, and you get lifetime access to the app, which means that you can refer back to the program and workouts at any point in the future. The programs also come with a PDF guide. Both of these were over 70 pages long, and these provide a wealth of knowledge on a lot of different topics, including things like nutrition, metabolism, fat loss and muscle building, tips for tracking progress, tips for beginners, and more. Now, some information that was specific to the CUT program. The goal of this program, as outlined by Natasha in the guide, is to set you up for long-term fat loss while helping you to feel strong, athletic, and healthy. This program is trying to help you create a calorie deficit through exercise, so there is quite a bit of cardio involved. And the goal is also to maximize the preservation of your muscle and strength while in this fat loss phase. Natasha also emphasizes that appearances are the least important thing about us. This program is not about quick changes, and a big benefit of changing your body composition is to help you to create a more freeing relationship with food. I will also note that my specific goal when completing this program was not fat loss, but I'll dive into that a little bit later. In terms of the weekly workout split for this program, there were 4 workouts per week, which included dynamic full body, upper body and HIIT, lower body, and full body workouts. And then there was an optional 5th workout, which would either be low intensity cardio or a low intensity gym circuit. This program also includes 2 deload weeks, which were 2 weeks that were specifically programmed where the intensity was decreased. Moving on to my personal experience with CUT and why I tried the program. I started this program in May 2023, and in the winter leading up to CUT, I had been following a muscle building program, which I didn't end up finishing, and I actually ended that program with experiencing a month of burnout. So I wanted to try something new to help get me remotivated, and I had been following Natasha on social media for several years, and over time have learned to trust her science-backed content, and I was interested in her athletic style of training, and I thought that this would be something that I would enjoy doing. So I tried out a couple of her workouts, which she posted on Instagram, and decided that I wanted to try one of her full-length programs and purchase it for myself. At the time, CUT had just been recently released, so it seemed like a great option. And my main goal at this time was simply to complete the program. Like I said, I was going through this period of burnout, and so I just needed to reestablish the habit of working out, and I set the habit-based goal of completing 3 to 4 CUT workouts per week. Like I said, the CUT program included 4 workouts per week plus 1 optional workout. I personally did not complete the optional workouts, but instead I did other workouts that complemented my lifestyle, like yoga, soccer, going for hikes, and doing home workouts. And in total, I completed 48 CUT workouts during the course of the program. Even though the program was outlined as a 12-week program, it took me just under 5 months to complete. So obviously that is significantly longer than the amount of time that it was recommended to complete it in. But the reason for this is because I took some time off when I traveled to Europe for 2 weeks last summer. And on some weeks, I only completed 3 workouts. And also, at the end of the summer, I sprained my ankle playing soccer near the end of the program, so I needed to take some time off to recover. In terms of my results for this program, I would say I was very successful based on my personal goal, which, like I said, was to simply get out of a rut, maintain the strength that I had built during the fall and winter, and simply complete the program. And like I said before, this was the first ever gym program that I've successfully completed from start to finish. In addition to achieving my goal, I also experienced improved strength in each foundational exercise. It was a lot of fun while also challenging myself, and I learned so many new exercises. And I would say that I've never been so motivated to work out at the gym. I felt strong and functional at the end of the program, and it was really just a great experience overall. So once I completed the CUT program, I moved on to Build. A little bit of information about this program. The goal, as Natacha describes, is to develop a well-rounded foundation of muscle so that you're feeling strong and so your metabolism is fired up. It blends in both functional and strength training throughout so that you feel super athletic and ready for any kind of fitness challenge. So when I read that description, I was super excited to tackle this new program and transition to a muscle building phase. In terms of the weekly workout split, it also consisted of 4 workouts per week, which were strength and power, upper body functional muscle building, lower body functional muscle building, and full body functional muscle building. And then there was an optional 5th day, which was skills and rounded development. So I started this program in October 2023, and I purchased it near the end of CUT so that I would have a new program to begin as soon as I finished the CUT program. I had proved to myself over the summer that I enjoyed Natacha's workouts, and I wanted to maintain the momentum that I had built during the past few months. And so I transitioned to this new muscle building phase with a focus on getting stronger, and my personal goal was to increase my strength on my squat, bench press, deadlift, hip thrust, and pull-ups. So, as you might expect, I did not complete this program in 12 weeks either. Like I said, this program included 4 workouts a week plus 1 optional workout. And this time around, I did complete the optional workouts because I realized that I would rather just complete all of the workouts laid out, regardless of how long it took me to do. And so in total, I completed 60 build workouts over the course of the program. And it took me almost 6 months to complete this 12-week program, again, taking much longer than expected. But the reason being was because I continued to take that approach where I followed the program while also continuing to include other workouts like yoga and Pilates. And I only did 3 to 4 workouts per week, including the optional workouts. When it came to my results for this program, I achieved my goal to increase my strength in my squat, bench press, deadlift, and hip thrust. And something that was super exciting was I finally got my first unassisted pull-ups. And by the end of the program, I could do 4 pull-ups. And before starting Build, I couldn't even do 1. So overall, I would absolutely recommend CUT and Build to anyone who's looking for a new fitness challenge and who would consider themselves to be more intermediate or advanced in the gym, with the following drawbacks in mind. So a few of the drawbacks were that the workouts often took longer than 60 minutes to complete, even though it did say in the program that they should be completed in 60 minutes. There were also some minor bugs with the Athlete app. For example, it might just randomly crash in the middle of the workout, but this was something I knew going into it because of other reviews that I had read, so I wasn't too bothered by this. Another drawback is that the weight, set, and rep history is not shown for exercise variations. So many of the exercises in the program are variations of one another. For an example, you might have tempo squats one day and squats another day, or you might have bench press on one day and chest press on another day, but it wouldn't show you what you did for one variation when you were completing the other variation. So maybe I was doing my tempo squats and I wanted to know what I did for squats the week before. I had to manually go back and look for it. It wasn't just presented right in front of me, which I would have preferred. And then the final drawback is simply that the CUT and Build weight, set, and rep history are not synced with each other. So I would have liked if the weights from the CUT program were shown when I started completing the Build program. But instead, I just needed to go back to the CUT program when completing my Build program in order to see where I left off with each of my weights for each exercise. Like I said, I overall had a great experience completing both of these programs, but these are just a few drawbacks to keep in mind. Moving on to my tips for following a program based on my experiences over the past year completing Natacha's programs. My first tip is to clearly establish your goals and interests. So do your research and pick a program that aligns with your goals and interests. The program should also be something that you will genuinely enjoy. And like Natasha said in her guide, nothing is more important than finding and listening to what you're in love with doing. At the end of the day, this will help you to avoid burnout, and the best program for you really is the one that you'll actually stick with. I personally enjoy Natasha's programs because there's a ton of variety. Even though there is the same workout split every week, the exercises themselves are varying each week. I also love the unconventional athletic movements, which at first I was a little bit shy to do, but eventually I became confident to do these exercises at the gym, and it helped me to feel strong and powerful. And I also just found her workouts fun overall, and I looked forward to every workout. Going along with this tip, I would recommend to try out free workouts from a specific creator before purchasing a full-length program. So for example, if they share free workouts on Instagram or if there's a free trial of an app, try that out before committing to the full program. And this is what I did before purchasing Cut. My next tip is to be realistic and pick a program that you can realistically follow. So for example, when I was doing my research, there were some programs that I found that required me to work out 6 times a week. And I just felt like this would have been totally discouraging because I know that that doesn't suit my lifestyle. So I avoided those programs. My next tip is to put your workouts into your calendar. You might have heard the quote before that failing to plan is planning to fail, and that is totally true in my opinion. I aim to complete 3 to 4 gym workouts per week, and so in my Google Calendar, I pre-scheduled 4 gym blocks a week, and these were set as recurring events so that I always had that reminder that I needed to be able to fit these workouts into my week. And this ensured that I was able to complete my workouts and fit them into my lifestyle. The next tip is to just start. One day at the gym, after I had purchased the program, I was kind of debating which workout I wanted to do that day, whether I wanted to start the program or just continue doing some intuitive workouts before starting the program. And the reason being was because I hadn't fully reviewed the PDF guide yet, and I didn't know if I was quite ready to start. But I simply just started that day, and it really is better to start now than delaying your start date until everything is perfect or until you're ready, because realistically, nothing is ever going to be perfect, and you're as ready now as you ever will be. Another tip is to track your progress. One of the main benefits of programs is that you can clearly track the progress that you're making, and the main goal that I tracked was building strength in each exercise. And Natasha recommended in her guide to track improvements in your core moves as your go-to measure for progress, so that's exactly what I did. Really just find a way to track progress that works best for you. I liked how the Athlete app had built-in features to track your progress with each exercise, so that way I could track my weights, reps, and even include notes for my future self. In the past, when doing intuitive workouts, I've also tracked my progress by creating a spreadsheet and logging my weights, reps, and sets for each exercise. And as a bonus, another way that I tracked my progress during this program was I documented my experience by taking videos during each workout so that I could create some clips for you on social media. So that might be something that you would be interested in doing too, because it is really cool to be able to see your progress in terms of the weight you're lifting, but also in terms of how your form has improved over time. And my last tip for following a program, this has been a theme that's come up multiple times throughout this episode, but it's to adapt the program to meet your unique needs. You don't need to follow the program exactly as prescribed, and since programs are more rigid, you can add in some elements of flexibility so that it feels a little bit more intuitive. In this way, you can listen to your body, which will help to tailor your workouts so that they're more appropriate for you. Some examples of ways that you can adapt the program would be to maybe skip some workouts. Like I said, I didn't do the optional workouts when I completed Cut. You could also rearrange the order of workouts. So just because it says that Monday is lower body day doesn't mean you need to do that. You could instead swap it out for upper body day if your lower body is feeling a little bit sore. You could adapt the program by skipping some exercises. In Natasha's guide, she said that if you can't fit in 1-hour gym sessions but could fit in maybe 45 minutes, then simply start and finish the workouts wherever you get to. She also said that in many of the workouts, they finish off with accessory moves that are the least important for your goal, so those would be the exercises to just skip. You could also shift specific exercises to different days. This is something that I often found myself doing on days when the workout was taking longer than 60 minutes to complete. Once it was taking a little bit too long for me, I ended up just skipping specific exercises for that particular day, and then I would move that leftover exercise to another day where I had a little bit more time to complete it. And then you could also adapt your program by simply spreading out the workouts like I did. Like I said, stretching out a program that was intended to be 3 months over the course of 6 months. Adapting the program is something that Natacha even suggests in her program descriptions, and she says that these workouts are meant to fit your schedule, not the other way around. A mindset that helped me through each of these programs is that consistent imperfection is better than inconsistent perfection. So what does this mean? Essentially, for both programs, like I said, it took me longer than 12 weeks to complete, but I made it a priority to complete 3 to 4 workouts per week. I wasn't hard on myself when I completed fewer than these allotted workouts in a given week, and I really just made the program work for my life. I wasn't perfect, but I was consistent, and this is what enabled me to complete both programs from start to finish. So now that I've completed these 2 programs, my future goal is to follow a new program, and I'm currently following Natacha's Move program. The goal of this program, in her words, is to develop a super rounded platform of strength, power, muscle, and athleticism. Which, when I read the description, I was really excited to try this program and learn new skills, and I'm excited to see how much more skilled and how much stronger I become by the end of this program. And I did purchase this program all the way back in the fall during the Black Friday sale, so that way I would have something to start as soon as I finished build. My experiences with cut and build have really influenced my approach to fitness going forward, where I'm taking this hybrid approach. I'm following a program, aiming for those 3 to 4 gym workouts a week, and I'm also doing intuitive workouts, including Pilates, yoga, walking, soccer, golf, and whatever other activity comes my way. And this way, I'm getting the best of both worlds. So stay tuned for how this approach works out for me over the coming months and for my review on Natacha's Move program. To wrap up this episode, as usual, I will share some of the community responses from the questions I asked on Instagram. The first question I asked was, have you followed a workout program before? Most of you have, with 63% saying yes and 37% saying no. I also asked which approach you currently take for your workouts. Most of you tend to prefer intuitive workouts, with 62% of you working out intuitively without a program, and 38% of you responding that you prefer to follow a structured program. Hopefully this episode helped to show you a new perspective on both intuitive workouts and structured programs, regardless of your current preference. And like I said at the beginning of the episode, in my opinion, I think following a program can be very helpful to help you learn more about workout programming so that you can feel more confident to do intuitive workouts. The next question was, how confident are you in your ability to stick to a workout program? And I asked this question on a scale ranging from not confident all the way to extremely confident. The average response was somewhere between somewhat confident and extremely confident, but there really were a range of answers here. Some of you were very confident, some not so confident, and others right in between. So hopefully the tips I shared can help you to feel more confident to follow a program if this is something that you're interested in trying going forward. And then I also asked you some open-ended questions. The first one being, what tips do you have for staying motivated while following a workout program? The first tip was to have a focus for each day, like lower body, upper body, cardio, etc. And I completely agree with this approach. This is usually built into a program, or if you're doing your own workouts, you can structure them in this way by creating your own workout split. Another tip for staying motivated was having a partner to give you the extra push when you don't feel motivated that day or week. And I also agree with this. Doing your workouts with a buddy can absolutely help you to be more motivated. And like I said before, I did many of the workouts during the cut program with my gym buddy. Another question I asked was, what workout programs do you recommend? And one of you responded, anything by Mind Pump Media is great. The person who shared this answer actually introduced me to Mind Pump, and I completely agree that Mind Pump is an excellent source of information when it comes to health and fitness, and they offer really great exercise programming. I would also recommend listening to the Mind Pump podcast because I've learned so much from them. And then when I asked what questions do you have about workout programs, one of you asked, does price matter? There's so many out there and I don't know where to start. I bought one once and it was such a waste. It only had 2 workouts and 5 recipes. Now, first of all, I'm sorry this happened to you, and it is definitely upsetting that there are things out there that are not delivering on what they are advertising. I would say that price matters simply because you determine how much you're willing to spend on a program, but the price might not be a good indicator of the program quality. I'm sure there are probably lots of great programs out there for a low price, and probably some horrible programs out there that are sold for a high price. So thank you for highlighting this and sharing with the community that there's kind of a lot of garbage out there in the fitness space, so it's important to be aware of this and be critical before spending your money on a program. My main piece of advice would be to do your research and read some reviews before purchasing a program. And then another question was, where should I start? In terms of where to start, there are a few different options if you are interested in following a program. The first would be to hire a personal trainer, either in person or an online coach, and they can create a personalized program for you, which in my opinion may be kind of the gold standard, having someone specifically tailor a program to your needs. Another option is to create your own program if you feel like you have the knowledge to be able to do so. And then another option would be to subscribe to an app or purchase a digital guide like I did through Natacha's program. Something I would say is to consider starting with a free trial to see if you like the program before purchasing the full program. And you can always DM me on Instagram to ask questions about anything fitness related, but in this case, I can help provide some advice on workout programs that might work for you. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening until the end of today's episode. I hope this episode helps you to consider some different approaches to training, and I hope you learned something from my experience completing Natacha's programs as well as the tips that I shared. After listening to this episode, I'm interested to hear which approach you think you'll take going forward, so let me know, and also let me know what program you think I should try next. Stay tuned for another episode of the podcast coming very soon, and I'll catch you next time. Bye! Thank you for listening to today's episode of the Always Active podcast. Remember to subscribe to this podcast, and I would be grateful if you could please leave a review. Also, be sure to follow the podcast on Instagram at all.ways.active so that your responses can be featured in future episodes. See you next time!